Welcome to part 3 of the Intro to After Effects videos that I'm making for you guys. So before this we were kind of just working with squares and circles to just get a feel for the program, but now I thought it is about time that we start bringing in our own images. So what I've made here is a pretty simple soccer animation just to show you how you would import images and then move them around. So it's just a second long and it's just going to loop. So the player just kicks the ball and he moves a little bit and the ball goes on a little angle. It's very simple, very quick to do. So I'll show you how you would do that, and then we can sort of extrapolate from there and get how to import your own images and do your own things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everything so we're back to a blank screen. So you would have seen this before. I'm going to create a 1 second animation. So right now we've got nothing, so I just changed that into there. 1 second, 24 frames. So we're ready to go, and I hit OK. So right now I've just got a white screen. Now I've found some images on the internet and I've put them into Adobe Photoshop. So in Adobe Photoshop, I've made sure that they had a transparent background. So the way that I did that was jumping back a few steps and remembering from when we did it for your magazine project. You could use the magnetic lasso tool and you could go around them. Sorry, that's not magnetic, that's polygonal. Magnetic, you hold down here, magnetic lasso. And sometimes that might work. For this image, it's not doing it for me, so we won't use that. I might choose to use the magic wand tool. So right now the issue is that there's a background here and it's got a little lock next to it, so you right click and go layer from background, and then we can edit it. So I'm going to go in, and the magic wand looks pretty good. If it's getting too much of his white, like his socks here, I could change the tolerance up here. I could set it to be about 15, and then it won't pick up as much, maybe even a little bit more, or less rather. What tolerance does is, it says, say I pick just this white square here, it'll look for things that are close to it. The higher the tolerance, the more likely it is to grab everything. So there it's even grabbed the flesh tone of the skin. If I go down to 1, it's only going to pick some things, it's going to leave some other bits of white. Let's try 15. It's going to take out a little bit of his socks, but for the purposes of this quick video, that doesn't really matter. Then I'm also going to take out the soccer ball because I don't want that soccer ball, so I'm just going to do a rectangular marquee over that and delete, and then I've got an image that I'm happy with. So I'm going to go File, Save As, and we save it as a Photoshop file. If you save it as a Photoshop file, it'll keep the background transparent. You can tell if something's got a transparent background because it's got these blocks here, the black and white sort of checkerboard look. So I've got that guy. I also want to find a soccer ball that I've got here, and I want to go in and make sure I take the background out of that as well. So I'll use the magic wand again. I want to put contiguous on. So what contiguous does is it means that it's only going to take it out if it connects to that line. So that's no good. Let's make it 1 to see if that works. Yep, that worked. So now I've got a nice looking soccer ball that's white all over, but it's got the background that's there, so I'll save that. And then I've got this picture of an empty field. I don't really need to do anything to this at the moment. I can just import it into my program. So I just keep the JPEG before. So those 3 pictures are going to make our animation. So moving over to After Effects, how do I get them in? The best way to do it is to not just drag them in. You want to go to File, Import, and then Import File. Now we go and find those. So I've got my soccer player PSD here, and I'm going to just put in a basic thing here, just whatever the default was, and it gives me my soccer player, and I can see him there. I can now drag that soccer player into composition 1. So that was the one we set up before, and there he is on the page. We can sort out the size and everything later, so we will need to make him a bit bigger and turn him around. Then I'm going to import in my soccer ball, so I believe that is, I named it strangely, it's just here. There's my soccer ball again. I can drag that into the composition, so obviously, yeah, sizing will fix up. And then finally, I want to put my empty field JPEG in, and then that is going to go into there. Okay, so we've got our order of layers down here. Obviously, I want the field to be at the back, so I just pull it to the bottom. And then I want to make it a little bit bigger. There's two ways I can do that. I can just pull the edge out like this, holding down shift, or I could go in to hit down here and change the scale as well like that. So I'm happy with it at about this size, and I'm just going to click it and move it around. Now my soccer ball is obviously too big now, so I could go in and stretch that down, make it a little bit smaller as well, so I'm happy with that. Okay, and then I'm going to move that to there. I don't really need to touch the background anymore, so I'm going to go down here and hit the lock button, and then no matter what, I can't move it. My little character here, I need to make him slightly bigger, so it's in proportion, or close to proportion at least. And you'll notice that I wasn't too careful when I was doing my work in Photoshop, so his legs are actually see-through, but that's okay. For the purposes of this demo anyway, you want to be a bit more careful with your own images. So, to turn him around, what I need to do is I need to go into scale here. And see how I'm not pressing the stopwatch? A stopwatch will make it move over time by putting in a keyframe. I just want to change the starting point, so I can just change the values. So normally when you scale, it'll keep everything in position and it will keep it all in proportion to each other. Unless you turn off this little constrain proportions link. Then what I'm able to do is go and make him wider, or I can go the whole way around and make it smaller. The only problem is you kind of need to remember the sizing. So it's 174.67 or 174.7. So if I type in minus 174.7, it will make him go to the other side. We'll do like a mirror flip of it. So we're done with that now. So what I need to do now is work out how to make my man kick. And that's just going to be a simple rotation. So I've got it going for 1 second, 23 frames. I'm going to press the rotation stopwatch to start my movement, and then I'm going to make him move backwards for about 3 frames, just slightly, like a kind of a run-up. So I'll get him to go backwards just a little bit so we can see the movement nice and quick, and then he's going to kick through. So that would be like maybe that. We can watch our movement again, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. If I wasn't, or it was going too slow, if it was going too slow, I could move these points closer, and then I'd get a quicker kick, but I'm pretty happy with that. If I wanted it to go slower, I can pull those points apart, and then it would go slower, but I don't want that. So, I'm actually done with my movement for the man in this simple animation now. I'm going to move on to the ball. So, the ball needs to be about here, I think. Yeah, so if we play through, he kicks. So maybe it's about there. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to put in a position keyframe at this point. The point where it starts to move, which would be about here. So I actually placed it in the wrong point there, but I can just move it back to there. Now I'm going to say it takes, I don't know, 5 frames to get across to the soccer ball, to the goal. So now, there we go, maybe a little bit less even. Okay, so if I play it now, there we go, looks good. Now, I don't want a straight line on that soccer ball being shot. So what I can do is, there's a little circle here, a handle it's called. I can go in and I can pull that and change the trajectory of the shot. I can pull this one out here as well if I really wanted to. I can make it do some weird kind of spin. That one at the end is probably not good, so I can hit Control-Z to make that go away. Okay, so it Command-Z, sorry, on Mac, Control-Z if you're using PC, which no one is at the moment. So I've got my kick, and I'm happy with that. There's one last thing to do, and that is to add some rotation to the ball when it gets kicked. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the rotation start point, and then the rotation stop point here. And then I'm going to say it's going to spin in the air, let's say 2 times. So I could do individual degrees here, or I could do full turns in this one next to it. So now, hopefully, you'll see a little bit of spin. And I think it spinned a bit too fast. And this is what happened in our other video. I was making things spin too fast and you couldn't even see it. So I'm going to change this back to 0 and let's say 180 degrees, so half a turn. And then you should be able to hopefully see it. Okay, let's just make it 1 full turn. So yeah, I mean, it's trial and error with a lot of these things. 1.5 turns. Okay, sure, why not? It spins, it's a little bit hard to see, but it's okay. Now, you're perfectly fine to do this quality of animation for your final work, but you could try and make it a little bit more realistic by moving your characters around. So see our guy here, when he turns, he's kind of floating in the air. It looks a bit strange. We haven't actually moved this character at all. And another thing is when it goes into the net, it actually goes in front of the net. It doesn't go within it. So there's a couple of ways we can fix that. And I'm going to show you another one. Hopefully it is this one. Okay. So we'll save this as V2 or anything. And so this is what I decided to do to fix it. So you'll notice immediately already, instead of my whole character moving, just the leg is moving. And then when it goes in, it goes behind the net, bounces, and falls down. So it's a little bit more complex. So the way to do this is through Photoshop. So before I had my soccer player and I just left him stable like this, what I want to do is I want to actually use Photoshop to cut that character out into 2 pieces. So I've got his body now minus a leg, and then I've got just his leg on another layer. So what that means is I can move these now independently of one another. So how do I do that? I've got this picture here. So what I want to do is I want to first duplicate my layer. So I've got 2 of the same guy. Now I'm going to make one so I can't see it at the moment, and I'm just going to take the leg from this one. So if I select just his leg and get it as close as I can, and I can move it up and down with the arrow to make it right. So I want to rub out everything except that. So I could go Command X to cut it, and then Command A to select everything, hit delete, and Command V to paste it. So it's not quite there yet. What I need to do is go in with my eraser and rub out the bits that I don't need. So I don't need that, I don't need that there, I don't. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got 3 legs. So I now need to go into this other one and erase that. And I need a slightly smaller rubber to get in there. Okay, so, okay. If I now place this leg in, I could move my character around. I could transform it so he's standing upright by pressing Ctrl T or going Edit, Free Transform. And then I'll select my other layer and I'll go Edit, Free Transform. And I can move that leg in like that. And I've got a quick version of it that hopefully I can use. If we want to see how it works, I can do Ctrl T and move this rotation point up here. Will that work? Let's see. I've never actually tried this. Yep, it will. So that's what it's going to look like. And we can test it. And then we're happy with it. And we go File, Save As. We'll just save him as Guy for now. And then I move into my After Effects from before. So I'm going to move into, so remember this is what we want it to look like. Okay. And then I can go into Recent, into V2, which is the version we had from before. Remember, he's going like this. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my soccer player, which is here. And then I'm going to go File, remember, Import from before, and we called it Guy PSD. So now we need to make sure we have editable layer styles, because if we hit Merge Layer Styles, it's going to mash them all together into one layer. If we do editable layer styles, when we go into Guy Layer, we can see that I've got a leg and I've got a body now. Okay, so they now come up and I've got my 4 layers here. I've got my field, I've got my ball, and I've got my character's leg, and I've got his body. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that we have them the same size. So if I'm going to scale them for this anyway, I hit S to do scale. I'm going to scale them both at the same time by hitting Shift and selecting both of them. Shift and then clicking. And I think, yeah, the 162% is fine. And then obviously I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to do scale, and I'll do -162, which is the opposite, to turn them around. The final thing I have to do is place them, and so I can place my man. And then one thing with this is we need to change the location of the anchor point. So if I currently try to rotate the leg, got to be rotating this one here, I think. Yep, it's going to rotate around this central point here, which is okay, but if we change the anchor point, I can move where that center point is, and then the rotation is going to look a little bit more natural. So that looks pretty good. So if I then go in and move it so it's on top, okay, I'm happy with that. I could choose to make the leg go on top. So if we zoom in, and I know it's a little bit blurry because we're not using good quality footage, or I could choose to make the other one on top. It's up to you. I'm going to make the other one. I'm going to make the leg sit behind and the guy sit on top. So if we go back to the start, I've got my ball, and the position of the ball doesn't really work anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the position markers that I've done. So I can do that two ways. I can either select them and hit delete, or if there's a lot of them, I could just hit the stopwatch and it does the same thing. So if I put the ball about here at his foot, that's okay. And now I'm going to go in and rotate the leg. So I start off with my rotation point. I go back a little bit. I start off with my starting point. I go back for a frame or two. Let's see how that looks. Okay, yep, that's fine. And then I'm going to kick forwards. Okay, so he goes, actually, maybe it should go back a little bit further. So I could change that point and get him to really wind up. So, bang. Okay, so at the point where it hits, which is about there, then I am going to move the ball as I have before. So the point where it hits is there. Okay, then I'm going to go into the ball, put down that position marker. Then we're going to put it into the net. Okay, once again, we can make it go a little bit higher. We can put that arc on the ball. Bang. Okay, we can make it a little bit speedier. It's a pretty big kick. Okay, and then the rotation I will change. So it starts with the kick of the ball. Bang. Okay, so we're rotating. That's okay. And then it works well at that point. We might choose then to have the ball fall to the ground. So at that point, all you need to do is select the point a little bit further along and then pull it to the ground. We can make it so it kind of looks like it hits a net. Okay, and then I am going to make it fall a little bit slower. So if I've got a rotation happening, I can make it rotate now in the other direction. So I could go and do some negative rotation. So it then goes in, after it hits, it rotates in the other direction as it falls down. And that looks kind of cool. So now if I play my animation, it falls down like that. There's one last thing we have to do, and that's to make the net there, the ball go into the net. So to do that, I go into Photoshop, I find my picture of the empty field, and what I'm going to do is come up with a new image of this net. So, sorry, I'm going to cut out the net. So I'll go in and use my polygonal lasso tool, which is just behind the magnet one here. I'm going to click, 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 and click back to the original. Then I'm going to Control C to copy. I'll open up a new file. paste it in. And then I'm going to go in with my magic wand, and I'm going to set the tolerance pretty high, so maybe like 30. I'm going to turn contiguous off so it won't take those, so it'll look for any black parts there, and I'm going to delete that. Then I'm going to go in and going to take out the grass as well. So what that leaves me with this file, and it looks a little bit ugly, but when I place it over the other top, it should be fine. I'm going to delete my background so it's see-through, and I'm going to save it out as the net. I've already got a file with that name, so let's just call it net1. Okay, and then into After Effects, I'm going to go File, Import, net1. Editable layer styles, we go and we move the net, so the net's a little bit too small, so I can actually just go into empty field and see how big I made that, 159.7. So if I go into here and go scale, 159.7, it should be exactly the same size. Then all I need to do is move it into position, and it'll give me that see-through look. So see, look, it kicks, it goes down. One mistake that I've done is that's the field line, so you could get rid of that if you wanted to, but then I've got my kick behind the soccer nets, and it looks a little bit more realistic. You would save it out, and you would be done. So if you want to do this exact scene, let me know, and I will put the starting images onto Google Classroom. In fact, I'll probably do it anyway. After you're done following along with this, you should pretty much be ready to start doing your own animation, and then anything extra that you need would be on a personal case-by-case basis. So good luck, and let me know how you go. I look forward to seeing your animations. Thanks very much.